guys, welcome back to my channel, and it's Deb C, and the place to be, it's Deb C. Bloop, that's me. Boop, Deb C. Hey guys, happy Happy Sunday. I hope everybody is having a wonderful weekend and a great day so far. I'm not going to get into a large introduction because this is probably going to be, it might be a longer video. I have my drink. I actually made my own. I saved this drink from earlier, this cup from earlier today, washed it out, and I actually made myself a dragon fruit refresher that I got from K-Cups. I'm gonna tell you, it doesn't have the inclusions. It tastes exactly like the one you would get at Starbucks. Exactly. Okay. That being said, let's get into it. The topic that I'm going to be covering today is a topic that is going to take me from point A to point B and everything in between. It might be a long video. You're going to see a lot of emotions. None of them are happy. None of them are going to be happy. I'm going to go from pissed off to very pissed off to disgusted to sad. And there's going to be a lot of ranting. There might be a lot of cussing in here, just to let you know. If you have young children who are in the room, either cover their ears or maybe get them out of the room. I'm just saying. The reason for all that is because there was a documentary that dropped on Netflix on Friday. I completely forgot about it, which is crazy because I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. Because I watched this show, me and my mom watched this show watched it religiously when it was on. I'm talking about Biggest Loser. On Friday, there was a documentary that dropped on Netflix. It's a 3-part series. It's called Fit for TV. And it's about The Biggest Loser. In case you don't remember, The Biggest Loser ran on NBC for like 17 seasons. It was on from 2004 to 2016. And then I forgot about this or I didn't even know about this. But it then moved, after it was canceled, it then moved to USA Network for one season in like 2020. So this was a massive hit for NBC. And listen, I'm gonna just tell you, I have dealt with all varying levels of obesity my entire life. Like my entire life. Growing up, I was chubby. I've always been, when I say some form of plus size, there has never been a time when I have not been overweight. Even when I was like coming up on my 40th birthday and I was exercising, I was going to our gym at work like sometimes twice a day. I was doing Weight Watchers and I was losing weight. I still wasn't like I was still overweight. So I have always been some form of plus size. So when The Biggest Loser was on TV, I was like, let's watch this because this is somebody like me. Maybe this will be an inspiration because it's going to be people, working out and losing weight. Maybe this will be an inspiration. At first it was. I'm not going to lie. At first, it was. Okay, but back to this documentary. So they did have some of the contestants in there. They had Danny Cahill. He was on season 7. This man lost 239 pounds in a little over 6 months, which now when you look at it and you're like 239 pounds over 6 months, now you're like, that can't be healthy. Like, there's no way that can be healthy. And that's the thing, like on the show, if you lost like 24 pounds in a week, it was amazing. if you lost 3 pounds in a week, you were a failure, which to be honest, like, that's the healthy way to do it. Even if you lose a pound a week or 2 pounds, that's much more healthy. And I would think that you would be more likely to keep it off if you just slowly lose it. But anyways, so they had Danny Cahill. They had, I believe he was the person that lost like the most weight in history on the show. Then Ryan Benson, he was the winner from season 1. Joelle, she was on season 7. She was part of that's when they were doing duos. She was with her friend Carla. There's also Tracy from season 7. Her story was crazy because she ends up in her season, they took them on the first day there. They load them in a bus. I remember this. They load them in a bus. They take them to the beach and they have to run like a mile on the beach. And if you make it and you cross the finish line, then you're on the show. If you don't, then you're gone. She was like pushing it and out front the whole time. And then near the end, her body gave out and she just fell. Everybody like picked her up and got her across the finish line, and they were expecting her to stand up and she didn't. And they had to take her to the hospital. Her body was shutting down. Like, all of her organs were shutting down. She was in serious, serious danger. So the doctor on the show, Dr. Zinga, he comes in and is like, they're saying you should go home. Well, as it turns out, she was like, I'm not going home. She didn't want to go home. The reason why she didn't want to go home was because her married life her home life was so shitty. Her husband was cheating on her. The reason why she thought she blamed herself. It sounded like to me that her husband was cheating on her because apparently the only women that get cheated on are women who are overweight, which is not the case. Otherwise, why did Jennifer Aniston get cheated on? Why did Halle Berry get cheated on? It's just because sometimes men are scum and sometimes men are pigs, and that's what happens. Do women cheat? Yes, women cheat, but we're not talking about a woman in this instance, and we're talking about a man. So, and she also kind of made it, it sounded to me like he was abusive. So she was there because she was like, I'm going to change. I have to be here. I have to change my life. So we had Tracy, then we had Suzanne. Suzanne was on season 2. And then there were 2 other sisters. It might have been Hannah and Olivia. And they ended up making it to the end. And the one sister won. And then there was another woman who was going to med school. And she ended up applying to be on. And she was on, but then the Dr. Huizenga, he actually like hired her to be on the show with him. And she was one of the voices of reason on the show, on this documentary. They also had 2 producers who were assholes. They had Dr. Huizenga, who was the doctor on there, and they had Bob Harper, the trainer, but they didn't have Jillian Michaels. Jillian Michaels declined to be on this. We're going to talk about this later. Okay, the takeaways from this. This was absolutely 100%. This show was never about getting people healthy. It absolutely was not about them getting healthy. This was about getting ratings. This was about making money. This was about creating a spectacle. And I'm not just saying this from the producer standpoint. I'm saying this from the trainer standpoint as well. You're like, how? Why would you say this? Well, number one, remember this Susan. Okay, Susan applied to be on season 2. Susan had been in New York, she was with the NYPD. She was at Ground Zero, and she she had an injury. She was in an accident, thrown from her car, and she was injured. So she started putting on weight. She applied to be on the show. Okay, she was accepted, and she said to them, okay, before I come, I'm going to start a hard, healthy diet, and I'm going to start working out, which I completely understand. Because listen, if you're going to go on this show, and if you remember, they take these morbidly obese people who probably don't exercise, and they put them on a ranch. They restrict their calories severely, and then they make them work out for 6 to 8 hours a day while they scream in their face. If you don't remember, let me give you that synopsis. Two trainers take morbidly obese contestants. They restrict their diet, they restrict their calories. From what I understand, the contestants were sleep deprived, and they make them work out 6 to 8 hours every single day, regardless of any kind of medical setback that they may be facing. Like if you feel like you are going to throw up, if you feel like you are going to pass out, if your back hurts, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you don't do it, then you're lazy. Do it. So there we go. There's the synopsis. So she was like, I'm going to do these things. And they were like, and I get that, because if you're like a plus size and you are going to be thrown into this ranch and you have to just work out constantly, you might want to get your body acclimated to that, so that it doesn't just immediately, you're thrown into this 8-hour workout day and then your body rebels against you because it's like, what the fuck is this? I've never done this. I'm not used to this. So it shuts down on you. So she was trying to get ahead of it. Do you know that the producers were like, no, don't do that. We want you to gain weight. That's what they want. They wanted her to gain weight before she got there because they wanted this to be a spectacle is what they wanted. Dr. Huizenga. Now, Dr. Huizenga, he was doctor on there. I didn't know this. Dr. Huizenga at one time was the youngest doctor that worked for an NFL team. He worked for the Raiders. He also testified at the O.J. Simpson trial. Sadly, to me, it seems like he testified for defense. So that wasn't great. But so basically he comes in and he was the voice of reason on that show. So the one guy, Danny Cahill, he lost like 24 pounds one week. He lost 12 pounds another week. And then on the third week, he lost just single digit. And nobody was clapping. I think he lost like 5 pounds. 5 pounds is 5 pounds. And both the trainers were like, oh no. So he decides himself to go and cut his calories to like 800 calories a day. He's eating 800 calories a day. He's burning 8,000 calories a day. And the doctor was like, no, don't, that's not great. You shouldn't be doing that. That's not the healthy way to do this. I want you to increase your calories. He was telling everybody that. And the the trainers were like, no, don't listen to him. I'm going to tell you, when Bob Harper said all doctors have a God complex, and Dr. H was no different. No, here's the thing. Dr. Huizenga actually cared about how they lost weight. He wanted them to do it in a healthy way. So those trainers telling them, no, don't listen to this medical doctor. Once again, they were looking for big numbers, because I guarantee the producers were probably like, we have you here because you fit the mold. Like this needs to be like military style training for weight loss. So you got to get big numbers. NBC wants to see double-digit losses. Another thing, this whole screaming and yelling at the contestants when they're working out, and then let's say they fall off the treadmill, or let's say they're about ready to faint, or whatever. They did not care. They didn't care if they were getting ready to faint. They didn't care if they were having heart issues. They didn't care about any of that. They would just yell and scream at them to just keep going. If you cared about somebody and you wanted them to lose weight and get healthy, you wouldn't be doing that. Okay, another thing that stuck out to me. If you really did care about these people's health, then what you would have done is after they were done on the ranch and after this show had wrapped for this season, you would have sent them home with an aftercare plan. You're taking these people, you're putting them on a ranch where there is absolutely nothing to do except focus on working out and not eating a ton of food. Okay? That's it. That's all you have there. So they're working out, they're eating 800 calories a day, they're working out 8 hours every day. And you're telling me that you think that they're going to do this and maintain this on the ranch, and then when they go home, they're just going to be able to do that at home in the real world, where they have a job, where they have a family to take care of, where they have other obligations of daily life. And you're just saying, okay, you did it here, translate that. Okay, what should I do afterwards? I don't know, do it. Like, what is that? There's absolutely no plan for aftercare after you get out of there. And Danny Cahill, he had gone to someone, to one of the producers, and was like, can we get aftercare? And I think even Joelle had said, listen, I was injured, my back was injured in one of the challenges. Can I get some help getting some care? They didn't even pay any attention to her. And here's the thing that pissed me off. And this, I had to calm down. I myself had to calm down. I was to the point where I was near tears. And if I could have reached through the screen and I could have punched that one producer, JB, I think was his name, I would have done it, because he says on the topic of aftercare, he says, I would have loved for us to have aftercare, but we're just producers and this is a TV show. We don't have a bottomless pit of money. And if we would have went to NBC, they would have declined it, and I think they would be right for declining it. That right there. That sentence right there. That is why you don't care. They didn't care. This was about ratings. This was about making money. Right before he said that, it was noted that NBC made $100 million off of the backs of these obese contestants. Because how? Well, there was the show, but there was also brand deals. They partnered with, I think it was like Xbox or Wii or something like that. They partnered with a whole bunch of businesses that brought them in $100 million. $100 million. You put these vulnerable people, I'm going to say vulnerable, because when you are a plus size person living in America, being a plus size person living in America, you will never convince me other than this. Being a plus size person in America and being discriminated against, it is the last socially acceptable discrimination in America. I'm going to say that. And no one can tell me differently. It's because when people make a joke about fat people, and I'm going to say fat. Listen, I'm okay with fat because I have been called the word fat. I've been called fat my entire life. Listen, growing up, I've been everything. I've been fat, I've been chubby, I've been plump, I've been obese, I've been a fat ass, I've been a lard ass, I've been everything. And at college one day, somebody hung out, a boy, I'm not going to call him a man, but a boy hung out the window and called me a cheese hog. I don't even know what that was. So if anybody calls me fat doesn't offend me anymore because I've been called fat my entire life. My entire life. So it doesn't affect me. I don't know where I was at. I don't even remember. But yeah, they bring these, that's why I say vulnerable. They bring these vulnerable, morbidly obese people on TV who just want to change their lives and get healthy. And that's it. And they parade them on TV and they make money off their backs. And then they can't even offer them care after for the myriad of health issues that they suffered afterwards. They couldn't even do that. Another thing that they couldn't do was they could not have trained mental health professionals on staff. So when you would see a contestant, today you would call it crash out, but if you would see a contestant who would be at a moment where mentally they weren't doing so well, there was no psychiatrist, psychologist, counselor, therapist, social worker, any of that on staff. There was Jillian, there was Bob. They would give them a pep talk and then they would send them on their way and tell them to go and work themselves to death on a treadmill. So that to me is exactly why I'm saying they didn't care. Another reason, they didn't care. This wasn't about getting healthy. This was about ratings, which translate to money. Okay, also, another reason they didn't care. Jillian Michaels, here's the thing. Okay, so later in its run, a couple of the contestants, Suzanne and Joelle, they got together and they were like, well, these producers aren't listening to us. We're going to go to the media. They went to the media and they had said that, I believe it was Joelle had said that there was, I don't know if she said illegal drugs, but there were drugs that were handed out by assistant trainers, like I guess assistants to the trainers. And the New York Post picked it up. They ran this big headline saying, I was drugged or something like that. And it was a picture of Joelle. Well, Bob was like, I didn't know anything about this. Do I believe him? No, I don't. We didn't know, Jillian and I did not know anything about this. Dr. Huizenga said that the medical staff did not know anything about this. Do I believe that? I do believe that because Dr. Huizenga at one point left the show because he did not like what was going on. It wasn't healthy, so he did leave. That I believe that he didn't know. But it was found out that Jillian Michaels had given caffeine supplements, like caffeine pills. I think it was called Stackers. And she had given these caffeine pills, which Dr. Huizenga was totally against. Because here's the thing, if you're not eating a lot and you are exercising constantly, they did have a medical professional on there who was saying that this is not, to take those pills in that situation, it's not good because they can cause a lot of problems. One of them being a heart attack It can cause heart issues. So Jillian Michaels was caught giving these pills. So during the one show, the host, Allison Sweeney, she was like, she had to ask. So it's going around that you gave caffeine pills. Is that true? She's like, yes, it is true. And then doubled down and was like, but they're not illegal and they're perfectly fine. So whatevs. You would think that maybe the network would be pissed because this is number one, not a great look. And number two, this could harm someone medically. Like it could be fatal. So instead of like dropping her from the show, no, all they do is they penalize her team by like, they add on like 4 pounds to her team. That's it. That's all. That's it. Nothing else. That tells me they don't give a shit. Okay, let's roll in to my second takeaway. And this, I told you, this was not about getting healthy. When I started watching this show, and me and my mom would watch it every week, I initially was like, okay, this is going to be an inspiration. This is inspirational. And the whole way through, I was like, okay, this is an inspiration. Maybe I was like so caught up in my head that, well, why would anybody want to do anything except help these people? But now that you look back at it, it wasn't an inspiration. It was fat shaming. That's exactly what it was. Plain and simple. It was fat shaming. Once again, they made all this money off of parading these people around like they're cows, like they're cattle or something. First of all, these challenges that they had where they would take a person, and one of the challenges was like you go into a room and there is like just tables upon like multiple tables just brimming with sweets and desserts. Or you go into a room and there's like thousands of donuts. And the one challenge was like, okay, if you go in, you're away from your family. So you're missing your family. So you go in and they're like, okay, whoever eats the most gets a chance to go home and visit their family for a day. And, or if you don't eat, then you're going to do better at the weigh-in. Which I thought was like diabolical, because they're there so that they can get healthy for their family, but then you're holding them over their heads. I thought that was terrible. The producer was like, that something like that, like these temptation challenges, that is something they're going to have to face in their everyday life. Listen, I've been fat my entire life, okay? I come from an Italian family. My family likes to eat. My mother likes to cook. She's an amazing cook and she's an amazing baker, okay? I know all about eating. Never in any day of my entire life, never ever in my entire life, have I ever walked into a room of our house and there has been, as far as the eye can see, sweets on every empty surface and then some. Never. So don't say that is something that just happens to fat people, to overweight people, that we just, everywhere we go, there is an unlimited amount of food everywhere. And some of those challenges, like, it was ridiculous. Like, they show contestants having to walk around with donuts hanging out of their mouths. What is that? That's fat shaming. That right there is just pushing that stereotype. You know the stereotype. The stereotype is that plus size or obese people, all they do all day is eat or thinking about eating or just shoving every single thing into their mouth. No matter what it is, they're eating it. And they're walking around. So they have them walking around with donuts and cakes and cookies hanging out of their mouth. Or in the one clip, they had them just shoving food in their mouth. And another woman just licking a chocolate, like putting her mouth under a chocolate fountain. Because that's what they had to do. They didn't think of the contestants as people. They looked at them as sideshow freaks. They looked at them as farm animals. Another reason as to why I say that is because this editing, like the one couple of friends, Carla and Joelle, they were told go over onto this like parallel bar or something like that and work out on that. Well, Carla had trouble on it and fell. And when she fell, they had to add in like an effect that made it look like the camera was shaking. Like when she fell, it was like, you know, like there was an earthquake or something. Like any time that somebody would fall, that's what they would do. They would have to make it like the earth was shaking because they were so big. Like, what the fuck was that? That was shitty. Or when they get into their faces and just start yelling insults, because it's okay to do that. It's okay to do that to someone who's overweight and who's just trying to like make their lives better and make their families' lives better and to be there for their family longer. But it's okay. It's okay if you get into it's okay. It's okay if you get in their face and you just yell. Because to NBC and to these trainers, they were just subhuman, you know? They were just a means to a fucking end, is what they were. And that there was one part where they showed Joelle, and she was on the treadmill, and Bob, everybody on his team was on the treadmill, was running. He was like, we're going to do this for 30 seconds, not 29 seconds, not 31. We're going to do it for 30 seconds. So everybody was running, and he's like, good. And they were running without holding on. Good. Gets to Joelle. She's holding on, but she's still running. And he starts screaming at her. Berating her like she has never been yelled at. So she kind of like shuts down a little bit and goes outside her body to like maybe to stop herself from just flipping out. And she was actually going to another part, to somewhere else, because him yelling at her was taking her back to a childhood when she would just get yelled at. So how is this motivating and inspiring someone to do better? You're yelling in my face? Fuck you, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get off that treadmill and I'm going to leave. I don't give a shit I don't give a shit. I will stop working out. I will get voted out, and that's cool. Okay? That's it. Because another thing about here's the thing, these contracts, because I was like, it's probably in the contract that you can't just quit. These contracts, they take these people, they bring them to California, they hold them up in a hotel room by themselves before they start filming, and they give them a thick ass contract that they have to sign. Is there any legal help there? Any attorneys that they can consult with? No. And they have things in there like you can't sue us, your family can't sue us if you die, or if you're injured, you can't sue us. All that stuff. Which, if you have to put that in there, that's telling me that you're going to pull some shady shit. Just like when you hear people be like, well, this star had me sign an NDA. Why? Why do you need an NDA? A non-disclosure agreement. Why do you need this NDA? What shady shit are you pulling that I can't talk about? Is it? So, yeah, him totally screaming at her, and then you see that carries over to her partner there, Carla, and her partner then gets on her in another scene and is like, well, if you're not gonna work out for Joelle, then you need to work out for Carla. You're not doing anything, and blah 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 blah. And Carla was like, I am working out. She was working out. So, nobody steps in. Bob doesn't step in and say anything like, don't get on her like that. And also, when Bob's screaming and yelling at Joelle, nobody's stepping in to protect her. As a matter of fact, Jillian is laughing and smiling. No. Now, listen, that gets me to my next point. And this is a good one. He ain't gonna see this. No, he's not gonna see this. This fat ass right here says, Bob Harper, you can fuck off. Yeah, that's exactly right. I fully agree with the sentiment that Joelle said. Bob Harper can fuck off, and his little dog too, is exactly right. Because he had us fooled. Because we thought that Bob was the good guy, right? We thought Bob was the good guy. Bob was not the good guy. Bob yelled and screamed at people and put them through hell, even if they told him that they were having like a medical issue. Put them through all this hell and mocking them, and now comes out and is like, yeah, I stand by everything I did. Everything that I did, I stand by. Oh, and that Joelle, so Carla gets on her, and then the rest of the contestants see this and are like, oh, well, Joelle just doesn't care. Joelle doesn't care to be here, because one week Carla lost like 7 pounds or something like that. Joelle didn't lose any. Listen, that happens sometimes. If I was Joelle, I'm going to tell you what, to be honest with you, I would have shut down, stopped doing anything, because I would have wanted to go home. So they voted them out, and everybody was like, we voted for Carla and Joelle. We love Carla. And then when they're voted out, everybody's hugging on Carla, and here's Joelle just standing over here. Yeah. So Bob Harper was a piece of shit. Okay? And then years later, he has that heart attack, and he comes out and he's like, I know exactly what it was like to be a contestant on the Biggest Loser, because I was at a point where I couldn't work out and I couldn't do anything. You don't know what it was like to be on the Biggest Loser, because you were still thin. No one ever judged you. No one ever screamed at you. None of that. Okay? None of it. Here's the thing. I'm glad that Dr. Hazinga was there, because he I feel did look out for them. Like, he wanted the best for them. There was also another woman, Aubrey Gordon, and she's a plus size speaker. She was the only voice of reason out there for like the plus size community, and she basically called it out like it was. She was like, this was nothing but fat shaming. shaming. This was just a spectacle. Like when they first got there and they were first weighed in, why did the men have to have their shirts off? Like, why did the women have to be in like bicycle shorts and like a sports bra? Why? It was to put them on display, and it was to make a spectacle out of people. Because listen, and even some of the people that they showed, you know that it's okay to make fun of plus size people, because when they were showing the one lady, Tracy, on I think it was Jimmy Kimmel's show, and he had said, well, how heavy were you? What was your weight when you joined? And she said 254. And he was oh, well, what size did you wear? 22. That's the worst thing that you could be. The worst thing that you could be was overweight. The worst thing you could be is fat. God forbid. And this Aubrey Gordon, she mentioned that. She also mentioned another thing, which is when you're fat, you feel there's this dual thing where you feel like you're invisible, but then also people are hyper fixated on your weight, you know? And I get that. And I absolutely get that, because when do I feel invisible? I've always felt invisible when it comes to the opposite sex, as far as romantically. Nobody's gonna look at me because I'm not a size 2. I'm not a size 4. I'm not a small, right? I'm not a small in my size. I'm small in my personality. So here comes this fat, funny girl with a mouth and an attitude. Nobody's picking me. Now, if it was a funny girl that's gorgeous, that's thin, that has opinions, that has a mind, that's willing to speak on it, oh, that's great, of course. And the other time when people will pay attention to you is when they're looking down on you. Like, oh, they'll see their size, they'll see your size whenever they want to assign just negative characteristics to you. You know, like, oh, look at her. She's look at how big she is. She must not care. She must not care about herself. She must be lazy. She must be lazy. She must not care about herself. Any of that. Yeah. Or when people will say, oh, they'll see your weight, because they'll be like, or they'll try and throw something out at you like a backhanded compliment. You would be so pretty if you just lost. You have such a pretty face. You would be so much prettier if you lost weight. My great aunt Lena, rest her soul, I loved her. But that's the one thing she said to me one time. She said, you have such a pretty face. If you lost weight, you would be so much prettier. Yeah. So I understand that. I understand being both invisible, but very visible. And even especially like when you go to a doctor's office, maybe you'll go in because you feel like maybe you have pneumonia. Maybe, you feel like you're getting, maybe do I have strep throat? And you go in and then they tell you, oh, by the way, have you ever thought of losing weight? No, I've never thought of that. Never in my entire life. It has never been brought up to me. I've never thought of that. No. Do tell. How is that? How is that affecting my throat? Or I'm here because I've been having headaches. Oh, have you thought about losing weight? No. Oh, yes, I have. How is that affecting my head? Is it making my brain swell or what? What is it? What's that? So, yeah. So eventually the show did go off the air, because in combination with like the fact that the show, after people went home, a lot of them a lot of them gained weight back. And Danny Cahill, he was saying that he went home and like 6 or 7 months afterward, he gained back a large chunk of the weight. He was like, I was exercising, I was eating okay, but I just couldn't lose weight. So they were saying that their metabolism was like screwed up. Also that whole deal with like there possibly being illegal drugs passed out to them on the show. And the fact that people were getting wise to the fact that this was basically just them fat shaming people. That's all it was. And they were like, no, this isn't, let's cancel. So that is what canceled it. Also another reason as to why, like, I now think that they weren't caring about like these people getting healthy was this cash prize. Like, why did you really have to have a cash prize? I mean, just get on there and be like, listen, the prize is better health, you know, and elongated life, you know, like you live longer, you're going to be healthier. So yeah, that's it. Yep. Maybe one day I will talk about my years as a fat girl. Once again, I'm sorry if I trigger you by saying fat. For me, the word really doesn't hold the power that it did in the past. I'm 57. I've been called fat my entire life. So I've been called fat or some variance of it. So if it bothers you, I am sorry. I apologize. For me, I've taken that power back from that word. So maybe someday I will talk about it, but I'm keeping this under an hour. So listen, in the comments, let me know if you watched and what you thought. If you watched the documentary, let me know what you thought about it. If you watched the show, let me know what you thought about it. Either way, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, let's give a thumbs up. I'm not a person who's like, oh, hey, at the end of every video, thumbs up, everybody, thumbs up. But if you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up. And if you enjoyed this content and anything else that I've done or said over gonna be coming up on 3 years on the tubes of the U, then maybe subscribe. But listen, if nobody told you yet today you are loved, seen, and heard, please make sure that you put love, kindness, compassion, acceptance, hope, and positivity out there in the world. Please take care of one another, and kindness is free, so let's pass it on. Always be aware of your surroundings, be smart and safe. Let's hydrate with some water. And if you're in a dangerous situation, know that Dolly and I are sending our love, thoughts, prayers, and positive energy your way to make it through. I have tomorrow off, so who knows what you're going to get. So everybody, have a great rest of the day. Love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys. Bye.